Welcome to Fit Live TV, everyone. Glad you could join us on this Wednesday at 12:30 here in Toronto time. I am your host, John Videka, and we are joined today by Matt Sharpe. Good afternoon, Matt, and it's obviously morning out where you are. How are you this morning?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I didn't get up that long ago, so still getting the crust out of my eyes here.
Okay. You obviously didn't have an early morning swim session, so we got you.
No,
Okay.
no.
All right. Well, we got you out of bed, and we really appreciate you joining us today. Um, Everyone, today we are going to be speaking with Matt Sharpe. Of course, he is Canadian Pro, National Elite Team member, and of course, I'm not sure if it's 2020 or 2021 Olympic hopeful, but Tokyo Olympic hopeful this summer. Recently, two podium finishes and I don't know if they were also Patco races. I think they were downgraded, although they had great fields. Third at Clermont and second at Sarasota, I believe, in the elite division. Congratulations on that, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
Currently ranked 52nd in the world, 41st in the World Triathlon individual and Olympic qualification rankings, and 10th in the Continental, and winner of numerous ITU Continental Cup races, Canadian Junior Champion, numerous top 10 finishes in the WTS series, including 16th back in 2017 of the World Triathlon Grand Final and 23rd at the 2017 ITU Worlds in Edmonton. Welcome, Matt. We are so thrilled to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, John. It's nice to chat and to meet you, and have this opportunity.
All right, everyone, we will be right back with Matt Sharpe. Well, once again, welcome to Fit Live TV. I'm your host and interviewer, John Videka. We're joined by Matt Sharpe. Matt, congratulations on your recent results down in Florida. And as I understand, just coming off or still in a little bit of quarantine. How's that been going?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. The races went really well. It was kind of more of just a test of my early season fitness to see where things are at with the training, and getting on the podium is a very good sign of kind of where I need to be for this time of year. I was based in the U.S. kind of this winter. And so that's why I had that opportunity to go compete in Florida. And then after the races, I've made my way back here to Victoria, and I'm currently in the basement doing the old quarantine.
Very good. With respect to you, let's get, a lot of people here that are our viewers in Ontario may not know a lot about Matt Sharpe. Obviously, many of the elite athletes have seen you on the circuit, have gone to various races, training camps, training opportunities, and do know you, but some don't, and especially many of our younger up-and-coming athletes don't know who you are. Can you give us an idea or a bit of background of what got you involved in this sport?
Yeah, I'm 29 now, turning 30 this year, which is kind of scary. But I've been doing triathlon since I was 10 years old. I did my first race on Vancouver Island. I think it was the Comox Youth Triathlon. A neighbor who had been doing, kind of age group stuff knew that I was in swim club and knew like to do track and all that kind of stuff. And they kind of suggested to my parents, hey, maybe Matt should try this triathlon and give it a go. And yeah, I remember, doing my first race, and it was just so cool. You're swimming, you're biking, you're running. There's all these different things, that I love to do, and putting them together, it just made it even more fun. And I kind of it just went from there, really. I guess I was swimming, as a young athlete. But then also, we do these swim meets where, Friday, Saturday, I'd be doing the swim meet. And then on the Sunday, if there's a local triathlon, I'd jump into the race just because I loved it. And it just kind of progressed from there.
So did you swim, knowing a little bit about the Canadian swimming infrastructure, did you swim full-time winter club or did you swim summer club out in Comox?
Yeah, so I actually lived in Campbell River, but which is just north of Comox. So I'm for the killer whales. I think maybe have one or two club records up there. I'd have to go back and check that out. But yeah, no, I swam winter. I basically, for my swimming career, I kind of got up to that provincial level. I never quite made nationals. I kind of made this choice when I was, decently young. I was about 14 when I kind of decided to pursue triathlon as like a more full-time endeavor over swimming, just simply because I enjoyed it more. I enjoyed the variety.
So you had mentioned that a neighbor's parents sort of mentioned maybe to your parents get Matt into some triathlons or anything like that. Do you do you have sort of a memory or a feeling of someone with that at your formidable sort of younger years really made an impact of you sort of starting to pursue triathlon? Was it driven more by your parents or was it self-driven by your own interest?
Yeah, I like to. I mean, one of the main things influences in obviously triathlon in Canada was Simon Whitfield, and his gold medal. I wasn't fully aware of triathlon when he won it, but it obviously became apparent as I got into the sport more and did more research. We have this guy who won the Olympic gold medal, and that was really cool. I always, as a young person, thought maybe someday I could compete at the Olympics, and here we had this guy who lived 3 hours south of me and he trained there and he won the gold medal. And so I think that made things a bit more tangible and kind of lit a fire under me. So obviously Simon had that huge influence, growing up and having that proximity to kind of that hotbed of triathlon in Victoria. I think that just, made things even more kind of evident. But I guess when I was coming up as a youth athlete, when I was about 15, I had this opportunity to train kind of at the National Triathlon Center in Victoria, not full time or anything, just, jumping in every once in a while on the weekends when I could. And that was spearheaded by Patrick Kelly, who was kind of the development coach there at the time. He knew that I was doing local races. He'd obviously seen me at some of the races and kind of knew that, I had a bit of talent and the drive to kind of compete because at the time I was training on my own and I didn't really have too much coaching. And so he kind of brought me under his wing a little bit.
Oh, that's fantastic. Um, I saw in some of my research, obviously you had participated in the Canada Games as
Mm-hmm.
through your teenage development. Can you give some of the younger people and even other viewers what the impact was for you, where Canada Games arguably might have been sort of the first opportunity of a taste of developmental high performance. Can you give everybody a
Yeah.
sense of that impact for you?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting you bring that up. I'll actually back it up a little bit more. I think maybe 3 or 4 years before Canada Games. Canada Games 2009. I think maybe in 2005, I competed in the BC Summer Games. So obviously a scaled down version of Canada Games, but still this kind of multi-sport, games environment where you're, with other sports and, it's a high level event. And I think that doing that BC Games, it kind of lights a fire under you, and it's something to pursue, and it's another kind of check in the box on the route of high performance. And yeah, again, the Canada Games, competing in that, it was that next step, and that kind of high level race with the pressure of competing and having that opportunity to compete at an event that doesn't happen every year. It happens every 4 years. And so yeah, having that opportunity to compete at the Canada Games and having some success with Team BC, it definitely kind of wills you and motivates you to pursue even higher levels of events.
Oh, that it's. I think those kind of contributions are really, really important because I think
Mm-hmm.
for sport development, when we still don't have a large critical mass of what I would call high performance development athletes in this country, it still is pretty heavily influenced by, and I don't know the terminology well because
Mm-hmm.
in swimming it's different, age groupers or
Yeah.
masters athletes. The sport is still pretty heavily
Hmm.
influenced by that. And I think the sport needs a much larger critical mass of young up and coming athletes. And it's great to hear such a positive impact that had on you. That's wonderful. A few people have certainly that are following your career, Matt, noticed that you've moved from, made a coaching change back in, I think, about April of 2020, so coming up to 1 year. And many athletes make lots of adjustments, coaching changes over their career. And I believe you're now back with a very influential coach that you had or have had exposure to, but may not have worked with a lot, Lance Watson's program. Am I correct in
Hmm.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. Back in April 2020, it became evident to me that I need to make some changes in the kind of, I guess, interest of myself and my overall health. And the opportunity presented itself. Having Lance as a local coach in Victoria who just happens to have Olympic medals and Olympic athletes under his in his resume. And so for me, it made total sense to approach him and kind of see if working with me would be something that he would be interested in. And I think he was a bit hesitant at first because, the high performance sport world, which he totally has plenty of experience in, it can be difficult at times, but ultimately he took the chance on me to work with me. And I think I'm just, super grateful that he did. I can't say enough about, his work ethic and, his experience. It's something that it kind of feels like I'm in a whole new phase in my career, starting to work with him. And again, like, it feels like I'm learning more as I'm working with him, because he has such a huge background in the sport and extensive knowledge of the sport. And yeah, it's been a ton of fun. We've had a really good dynamic. We hit the ground running, and unfortunately we haven't had too many races together, but the ones we have had the last few weeks have been pretty successful. And yeah, I'm excited to see what we can do going forward.
Oh, that's great. While you temporarily relocated down south in preparation for those races, how long were you down there for that training before relocating back to Canada?
Yeah, I spent years, the past 5 years, training in Arizona with the Triathlon Canada group, and it just made sense to me to be back down there. I had the opportunity to train with another athlete who I've trained with over the years, named Kevin McDowell. He's a very, very high level athlete in the US. He's a very strong competitor. And then also I was able to be with my fiance, which is really important for me. And so there was just a lot of things that kind of lined up that way. And, it wasn't an easy decision in some ways because of the whole COVID situation. Things are a little different down there, and you have to respect, everything around that. But ultimately, I would say we did a really good job of managing, the COVID situation and training down there. And we're very successful through that early winter training block.
So how did Lance integrate and manage that adjustment, going from in person prior to sort of a temporary relocation to coaching you remotely? Because you are in the first year of your coaching
Mm-hmm.
relationship with a brand new coach. He's getting to learn about you, but not just what makes Matt tick, not just learning about you psychologically or your personality. He's also trying to learn your physiology to some
Mm-hmm.
extent, and and how to get the best adaptations out of you without having gone through 6 or 7 years of knowing what it's
Yeah.
like. So how did that work remotely while you were in Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that. It takes a long time it can take a long time to understand the athletes. And with Lance, though, he has such a good background with the sport, and it doesn't take him too long to understand, an athlete's needs and whatnot. And I think the biggest thing for us is we just have very, very good communication. We have a good relationship, within the sport and outside the sport. We can joke with each other and hang out with each other, and that's a very positive situation. One of the things that I learned kind of coming up as a kind of elite athlete, just being able to communicate, anything that you need to communicate. It's just, that is so critical to that coach athlete relationship. You may have to tell your coach someday, hey, like, I'm tired, I need to back off, or you may need to say, hey, like, what do you think about maybe pushing something like this? And with Lance, I have no problem communicating that with him. You have to do it in a respectful way, but absolutely, he's always open to feedback. And so, yeah, I think the biggest thing underpinning our relationship is just that ease of communication and the ease of the flow of communication, and not, I'm not worried about saying something that might upset him or, anything like that. It's just so easy. Yeah. And so that we have that situation. So that's probably part of the reason why we were able to go from doing in-person coaching to then doing completely online, and Lance as well. He's a pioneer of online coaching. He started online coaching, in the early 2000s when it wasn't really a big thing. So he has that skill base as well to be able to kind of tailor programming and kind of make that happen. And also, he's very, he works really hard. He's very innovative in his thought. And so we actually had some sessions where I was doing a trainer ride where I'd have my Zwift on the computer, but then we were also on Zoom, so he could watch me as I was on the trainer. He can see my metrics. He can see me pedaling, and I've got the ear pod in, and he can give me feedback live when we're training. So we got very creative that way, and a testament to his ingenuity for sure. Again, another session I'd have like a track workout, and I'd set up an iPad kind of on tripod, so it was up at a high level. You could see me running around, and then I'd have the ear pod in my ear, and I'd be running and doing a session on the track, and he was giving me feedback as I would go by, and so we made it work. That was a lot of his ideas, and yeah, oftentimes it felt like he was there with me.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear.
Yeah,
I am curious, with such a great level of ingenuity, using technology to stay connected in the face of being remote. What and again, almost a year under your belt now for you and Lance. What's the one thing that you have found new in your training this year for you?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. In the past, we'd have a different setup with the programming, and with Lance, it's the change. I guess the biggest change I've noticed is when I'm cycling. There's not a lot of easy riding. It's always very focused and I guess data driven. A lot of the training, the programming has been. It's been hard. It certainly has been hard, and it was very hard at the beginning for me to adjust to the different demands. But ultimately, it's been a very good change, and I've definitely noticed improvements, in swim, bike, and run. Overall, I would say it's just everything is harder for sure.
Sounds to me like purposeful, very
purposeful. Yeah, purposeful and mindful. I would say too. That those are probably words that describe the programming under Lance.
Oh, that's great. Glad that is working out well. And maybe you can tell Lance how this interview went and put in a good word for us. And maybe we'll get him on a coaching panel.
Yeah, no. He would, I'm sure he would be into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coach's Corner. Get him
That's
on
right.
there.
Yeah. As we mentioned, you had a very successful sort of re-entry into the competitive season. And of course, who knows what the North American competitive season is going to be like. Obviously, the reintegration down in the US looks like it might be a little bit earlier than Canada's. Still quite a bit of uncertainty here. And similarly in Europe. Give us sort of two-part question.
Yep.
Any details about the two races, Clermont, Sarasota, that from any of the three disciplines that you learned about yourself that you'd like to work on? And then what when you identify those, What will you do to work on, and where will you test them next, in the US or in Europe?
Yeah, no, good question. I think for me, I could see things in my training. Over the years, I've just had a lot of experience and a lot of time training, so you kind of know, when what you're doing in training and how that will kind of translate to racing. And I felt very good going into these races, so I expected to be able to perform like this. And it kind of, I would say the races went pretty much to my expectations. I was actually surprised with, I haven't raced in a year, but I feel like my transitions and kind of like race knowledge or race intuition, it didn't really go away too much, even though I'd been off the course for so long. So that's great. I think, when people have these kind of breaks, I think you need to just fall back on your experience and trust yourself that you're going to know what you're doing. For a second, going into races, I was like, crap, like I'm going to forget like my shoes or, just something silly like that. And it doesn't happen.
But I really appreciate hearing that, Matt, from
Yeah.
a coach spectator point of view, because
Yeah.
you having that attention to detail, even after a long layoff, indicates
Mhm.
that your attention to those specifics was maintained. Just in a matter of watching a few races from a year and a half, 2 years ago, I'm watching
Mhm.
a Canadian athlete, not to be named, uh,
Yeah.
running past their bike and then running around like a chicken without a head in the tuition area. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
oh my God, how on earth can a Canadian national team member be doing that? And I'm sure they
Yeah.
would kicking themselves in the butt later. But
Yeah. Yeah.
those types of details, um, I think it's often, it can't be repeated enough that the transition times and executions have to be consistent and have to be uh, efficient and effective all the time. You can't afford
Absolutely.
mistakes.
Yeah. No, it's so true. I mean, a lot of races in the past, I've swam pretty good. I've always had a good swim, but you need to be, if you have a decent swim, you can, your T1 can make the difference between you being in that front group and, just being away, or, you're in the second group and you're just not in a good position, and it maybe doesn't set yourself up for the rest of the race very well. And that kind of stuff, it's just so critical to be able to nail each and every time. It's so important.
Yeah, it can be the difference with an effective swim in T1. It can be
Mm-hmm.
the difference between a strong positioned pack ride and having to do an individual time trial where you're just chasing
Exactly.
and you're gassed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Um, what about your up and coming race programming? What, and not looking for anything top secret or anything like that, but what you can share, what are you looking towards from this current transition, getting through the quarantine, reprepping again? What's on the agenda for you? Because, of course, on Friday, World Triathlon and
Mm-hmm.
various countries are all going to be responding to the qualification period has opened up. So,
Yeah.
how does that affect your decisions now going forward for race choices and possible selection to the Canadian Olympic team?
Yeah, we're gonna get some more information from Triathlon Canada, I think tomorrow, on what their expectations are for trying to do this qualifying process, and what they're looking for in order to select the team. So once we have that information, we'll look at the races and make decisions around that. In terms of my training approach going forward, I'll probably need to get back in the pool. I've taken a week and a bit off now, so I'll be getting back in the pool pretty heavy. You kind of have to look out, what are the demands of the competition that you're going into. And, if I'm going to be racing WTS races, what's very important and what I've felt is kind of the most critical thing for me in these competitions is to be able to be obviously strong all around and everything. But I think the bike for me is something I'm going to have to continue to improve and to focus on. Not so much in the technical area. I feel like I'm technically quite sound. And again, doing those races in Florida allowed me to go through those motions and kind of get another sense of where I'm at with that. But mostly just, physiologically speaking, power output, ability to ride hard and then recover, ride hard, all that kind of stuff. I think that'll kind of be my main focus, because I just find that in those races, if you can come off the bike with less fatigue, you're going to be able to express your ability to run well better. If you come off the bike and you're cramping, like it doesn't matter how fast you are as a runner, you're not going to be able to perform at a high level.
Right, right.
Yeah.
In terms of being optimistic, a selection for Canada's national team and becoming an Olympic team member, do you have a sense of what Canada's strategies are going to be between what is the relays are obviously a team event, but ironically, and this is just my own personal opinion, Matt, that the individual races have almost become a team event as well. How do you reconcile that going forward in strategies? And obviously, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, and you don't want it to be something you worry about. But I'm just wondering what does go through your mind about those possibilities.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong in your observation about, the Olympics and having more of a team focus. I think that's something that has happened in the Olympics, for the last few games. It's more of a shift to, having that team aspect. And obviously in Canada, we've seen that successfully implemented in 2008 when, Simon Whitfield won his silver medal. He had another athlete in the bike pack, kind of, keeping an eye on him and keeping the I guess the front people, in sight, and just, making sure Simon was in a good place coming off the bike. We actually implemented that in Tokyo at the test event, and it was successful. We had Tyler win the gold medal, which has never happened before for a Canadian at an Olympic test event. And my role in that race was to, keep an eye on him in the swim, and make sure he was in as best position as possible coming off the bike. I would say in that race, in the swim, I actually found him pretty quickly, after the first buoy. And my objective in that scenario was to just make sure he was swimming comfortably. I think there was two times where athletes tried to jump on his hip or something to slow him down, and I just kind of gave him a little knock to make sure that they were not doing the correct thing.
Yeah.
And then, once we got onto the bike, I was trying to keep Tyler, near the front of the race, just because the odds of, having someone crash in front of you is lower when you're at the front. On the second lap, he actually lost his water bottle. And so I was able to give him one of my water bottles, which a lot of people don't know about. And then again, just keeping the pace high when it needs to be high in order to, put the hurt on athletes at the back of the group. And once we were, making the charge for T2 and getting that critical T2 position, I was right at the front of the race, and he ended up being the first athlete into T2. So it was a successful endeavor. It's something that we can definitely perform in Tokyo without a doubt. I mean, we've literally shown that we can do this. And so for me, it's just a matter of, staying in good shape, staying race ready, race sharp. And then, I have no doubt I can perform the same role in Tokyo.
Again, being optimistic with a selection, how much fun will doing an actual team relay be?
Yeah, absolutely. The relay it's a great event. We haven't had as much success as we should have, I think, in the past few years. So there is an opportunity. There's supposed to be an opportunity for us to kind of do a last chance qualifier event, which we shouldn't have a problem achieving as a team. And if we have the opportunity to compete in the relay at the Olympics, we're going to be we're not going to be holding anything back.
No, that's great. Well, I know many of our viewers will be certainly hoping for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very cognizant of your time, Matt. I do still have a few more questions for you. I think we'll probably
keep it going. Keep it coming.
We do have a few more minutes here. So what have you learned? You had mentioned off air to me, you're 29.
Yeah. Getting up there.
Well, I would say you're in your prime, to be honest with you. I'd say
Yeah, no,
many
I
would
agree. I
say
agree.
you are in your prime. You still have many more years to
Hmm.
go. In fact, if your goals were to be it, you probably have another Olympics, in 3 years' time that you could go for. What have you learned about yourself that has helped you build the confidence that you have all of these years?
Yeah, I think for me, I kind of, like I mentioned before, I think to you, when I was younger, it was just me training. I was the one driving the bus. This is always something I've wanted to do and I've wanted to improve on, and so I can just get confidence from my my self drive, I guess, for lack of a better word. That helps me. When I'm in a tough situation and I need to kind of push myself. I know I can do that. I've had a few setbacks in my life for, racing and life context. And so those have also given me perspective on things that have allowed me to, understand that I am a resilient person. And when I do have these setbacks, they don't take too much out of me. I'm able to focus on, what I can control and what I can do. And yeah, those are the biggest things for me. I think that give me confidence. It's just, I know that when the chips are down, I'm going to be showing up.
Oh, that's fantastic. And there's no doubt with a statement like that, you're showing your confidence in what you're capable of doing as a
Mm-hmm.
coach. That's fantastic to hear, and I'm really glad to
Yeah.
hear that.
And I think, because I've had this long time in the sport and a lot of time to experience different things, and I can kind of generate that perspective. And it's not something maybe that I understood when I was younger, but as I got older and went through the motions, and these are just the things that you kind of learn about yourself.
Fantastic. Uh, the next thing I'd like to do, Matt, is just discuss a little bit about the broader focus of the sport, and
Mm-hmm.
certainly where some of the sport governing bodies are at. As a former coach, newbie coach, you put 400 coaches in a room and you got 400 opinions on how to make everything better. But I'm curious, more so from you, an athlete with an enormous amount of experience, bridging learning from the great times of 2000 to 2008, but leading forward into a more present era of high performance triathlon and even in the future. What what feedback could you supply our viewers, people watching this video, that provincial and the Canadian triathlon system can do to make things better in the high performance world?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I wish I had just like a perfect answer for you to to give you. I think what I've learned kind of coming up in the sport and observing other athletes and their progression and kind of what maybe they do or their situation. The most important thing is to just have access to high level racing, because when you're trying to make those steps to the next levels, obviously having those next levels is important to strive for, especially when you're a younger athlete. Being able to have access to competitions, every time you compete, it's an opportunity to learn about yourself and learn kind of what you need to work on for the next thing. And so, I guess for Triathlon Canada, the other provincial sport organizations, just, making sure these athletes who are, on this high performance track and who are motivated, to just make sure they have those opportunities. And obviously maybe you need to think outside the box a little bit. I know, it's like North America, there's a lot of good athletes, but it's so good to, put yourself in even tougher situations. So, maybe Triathlon Canada could have a yearly thing where they send young, junior athletes to Europe to compete in a few races over there, not spend too much time over there. You don't maybe need to spend all summer, but just exposing these athletes to, higher level races and more competition ultimately will, I think, motivate athletes even further, and obviously give them some valuable experience in competition. I think just having that access to racing and making it easier and more accessible to compete at a high level, I think that ultimately will produce the best athletes.
Well, that certainly to me sounds like music to my ears, Matt. I think that we all recognize COVID pandemic environment aside.
Yeah, aside,
And
absolutely.
of course, we all know that sport organizations are stressed for financial resources. It would certainly be nice to see Trican, the provinces, reinvesting or restructuring to reinvest in high performance development training opportunities, getting like-minded, like-skilled athletes together more often, both in training and in racing. And I like the thought of it not just being North American dominant, that it could also be, Europe or other areas to get that experience. So that's music to my ears. And who knows, Matt, maybe that could be, in 8 years' time or 12 years' time, that could be a new vocation for you, leading.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
leading.
I need to finish my school first. I think that's on the list.
Okay.
There's something for the younger athletes. I think one of my regrets of coming up in the sport is that I didn't finish more school as a younger athlete. I think I would have liked to have, maybe at least done my undergrad by now, and it's not completed. So got some work to do there. But yeah, I think that's something. Yeah, absolutely. And I understand that. It's just, for me, I'm just kind of like, maybe I could have gone a bit more done. But that's kind of one thing where I'm like, that would have been maybe good. But yeah, that's for me personally.
Oh, that's great.
My opinion.
Well, I think it's obvious what, stating the obvious, what might be some goals, but I think maybe some people would like to maybe hear it, from you. What are your goals, Matt, being the next 3 to 4 months, but also your goals beyond July of 2021?
Yeah, I think, for this year, my main goal is at the Olympics. My main goal is to help Canada win a medal. We have an athlete, Tyler Misichuk, who has proven his ability at the highest level. I think the Tokyo race context is, for him, it's just a perfect setup. And so I think our odds of achieving that are quite high. And we know what it's like when Canada wins a medal. Any medal at the Olympics from Canada, it's a big deal. We don't get a lot of medals, so each one is it's very special, and especially what we've seen in the past when we have a medal in an event like triathlon, where a lot of people who swim, bike, and run can connect to that. And I think that achieving something like that would have a greater impact than just winning a medal. I think it could really help lead people on to inspire people and help with keeping Canada healthy and all that kind of stuff. I think the knockoff effects of a medal aren't just the medal. There's more than that. But for myself, other than that, I think the goals are the same. I'd love to win some more races. I haven't won a race in a very long time, so that's a big goal of mine.
Well,
I'd love to win it.
Sarasota, was that I just looked at the results on Sports Stats because there was no live feed or anything. Was that a sprint finish there?
So in Sarasota it was, but that was for second. In Clermont, we were running as a group of 5 of us, and 2 of the guys kind of were able to bridge away, in the last, I would say, 400 meters. And I have a good sprint, and that's kind of my ace in the hole a lot of the times. And so I was able to kind of crawl back some time, but it wasn't enough where like I was really that close to winning. 2.5 seconds, but at that pace is still a good distance. So my whole thing, I need to improve my ability to, put myself in that position where then I can use that sprinting ability at the end. I've had a lot of races where I've sprinted for 15th, and that's kind of fun, but you're not competing for the win.
Well, it's a self-improved goal when you're sprinting for 15th, and it sounds. I appreciate your healthy outlook when you say you're you're sprinting and you're 2.5 seconds back because ultimately you're still out of the camera shot.
You're
That's the
not, you're
problem.
not, yeah, you're not clothed. It's not a photo finish, that's for
No,
sure.
no. Um, uh, if you are successful, and again, very much supporting you to get that Olympic berth for Canada.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, how are your parents going to be with not being able to go and watch?
Yeah, that's something that it's tough for me because they've just been so supportive of me through my whole life, really, like not even sport related. Obviously, through sport, they've helped me so much. So that's very difficult because it's something I would like to them to be able to like share in and have that feeling of, I guess, we helped this Matt, achieve his goal. And ultimately I don't think they really care that much. They just want me to be happy, but I want that for them. So that's hard that they won't be able to be there. But, at the end of the day, if I'm able to make the Olympics, I will feel very good about that in terms of them, because I know what they've sacrificed for me to be in this position. If I don't go to the Olympics, they just want me to be happy, and so that is what it is.
Well, it's an understatement, I think, for every athlete, how much their parents support them and get them
Mm-hmm.
involved. But before we go, I'd also love it if there's a lot of sponsors and organizations that support you. And
Mm-hmm.
it'd be great. Give a shout out to all your
Yeah.
sponsors and supportort. List them off. Who has
Yeah,
been
I mean,
supporting
I'm
you?
in my mom's basement right now, so thanks, Mom, for letting me stay in the basement. It would be kind of remiss of me not to acknowledge, as a Canadian high performance athlete, we receive loads of support from the government and the taxpayer, and so I think it's important for us to acknowledge that yes, we receive support that way, and it's huge. It allows us to compete and to try and make Canadians proud. I think it's yeah, we have a very special setup that way in Canada, and I'm super grateful for the support of the Canadian government and Canadians. For myself as well, I'm sponsored by Deloitte Canada. They support me, financially and through other means, which is huge. It's more that's kind of a local thing, which is great.
Yeah.
The running room has supported me for almost 10 years now. They've always
Wow.
kind of stuck by me, through some good years and some not good years. They've always kind of had my back, and so I always appreciate their support. I'm a member of Hugh Dog Racing, which is kind of a new kind of triathlon team that's up and coming. Shout out to the Hugh Dog, the Wolf Pack, and Cliff as well has supported me over the last couple of years. For me, being able to fuel correctly is absolutely critical in training, and yeah, that's something that's been super important.
Oh, that's
So
great.
thanks to all them.
Well, again, Matt, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to get up early uh, and join Fit Life TV and us and share your experience, your knowledge, show athletes, viewers, and Canada what a confident young man you are and
Oh,
a
thank you.
fantastic high performance athlete. We wish you the best in your Olympic dreams and hope that you get further clarity either tomorrow or Friday from Tri Canada on what the selection process is going to be. Certainly, Fit Live TV, we will be watching you over the next few months. We wish you the best, and we can't wait to see you in hopefully in Tokyo this summer. Thank you very much,
Absolutely.
Matt,
Yeah,
and we look forward to catching up with you again. Thanks so much.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.